It seems like Duma Boko is in trouble. Botswana seems to be in trouble in terms of its economy. Its GDP is shrinking, high unemployment, and poverty is rising. And this could be as a result of so many things. And obviously, it pleases and makes the other people happy, the enemies of African progress. They celebrate and joyfully start blaming the ideologies that these Pan-Africanist revolutionary leaders have. And we have seen it all over across the continent that as soon as a leader tries to have those ideas such as Duma Boko has, trying to remove the borders between the countries in order to unite, in order to come together and try to put their foot down in terms of how the natural resources are exploited by these multinational companies. Sabotage is likely to follow because that's how they operate and that's how they do it. Because those who do not like the ideologies of African unity and the progress of Africa would obviously come and infiltrate and try to manipulate and sabotage you so that you can tank. That's why I always say on this channel, the problem that we have as Africans, we like to talk about the ideas of coming together. We like to talk about progress, and we celebrate these iconic leaders when they stand up. We celebrate the Traores, we celebrate the Duma Bokos. But from the reality point of view, we do not want to understand how the sauce is made. We just want a delicious sauce, which is a prosperous and functional Africa. And I understand that, such is human behavior. We don't want to bother ourselves with the technicalities of how we as Africans can actually develop and be able to break free from the yoke of Western imperialism and this neo-colonialism. And that is human nature. We want simple, so we just go behind the idea that we must free ourselves, but we don't want to get into the technicalities of it. And I understand technical subjects are not for everyone. As you are watching me on YouTube like this, you probably don't care how the camera captures every single ray of light and every single pixel that end up making this video. You probably don't care. All you want is the final product. You probably don't care and probably don't want to know how every single packet of this video is routed through the internet from YouTube servers until it gets to your phone. All you want to see is the video on YouTube. And I get that and I understand that. But unfortunately, those technical subjects and those technical complications that we are trying to avoid when we are discussing topics, those are the things that actually matters. Without those technical complications, without all those complicated protocols that routes every single packet of the video until it gets to your phone, without them, you will never be able to see a video. That is the sad truth. Without getting into the technicalities of how Africa can actually develop and get out of this trap that it is in, we will never have the result that we wish for. And so many people are not interested in that conversation. People are interested in promoting the sauce, but not talking about the technicalities and the formula of how we can make that sauce. And until then, we're wasting our time because that is the truth. We can see it in the case of Botswana. Most of our African economies are resource based. It literally based on extraction of natural resources, which I always repeat 200 times. It doesn't work. It's not sustainable. At some point, the demand of that natural resource that you are depending on to feed your economy, it's gonna dry up, and then your economy will come down, crush. Same as what is going on in Botswana. I mean, the demand of diamonds has gone down. The diamonds are no longer as valuable as they used to be. People are moving towards lab-grown diamonds, and what happens then? And yeah, so many African countries still depend on digging natural resources, exporting natural resources, and we talk about this. We should move towards manufacturing. We should diversify our economies, but nobody's listening because people are not interested in how the sauce is made. People are interested in having a delicious sauce. But at the end of the day, that will be a sweet dream that will never happen. Whatever development, whatever improvements that we wish to see on the continent of Africa, there is definitely the formula behind it. We are having less of that conversation, that technical conversation, that formulaic conversation, that how to make it happen conversation. We focused on, okay, Africa is going to be great. Let's go, let's go, let's go. But we're not talking about the formula. If we don't have that, we are wasting our time. Unfortunately, it is difficult. We have a lot of forces against us. The Western world, the powerful, the most advanced. Unfortunately, we do need them. Our economies are so dependent on them. And in some instances, we are not capable of taking out those natural resources that are under our soils. We need those countries to come and help us. So we need to understand, before we start shouting and talking about anti-Western colonialism, we need to have a formula on how we're gonna be able to do this. That is the conversation we are having less of, which is the most useful conversation. Because if we do not do that, if we do not come with a workable strategy in order to transform the continent, we are wasting our time. Unfortunately, this is just daydreaming that we are doing, instead of thinking. We need to have think tanks in the continent of Africa, which shapes the direction of how Africa should go in order to prevent this from happening. I can tell you, I can guarantee you, we are not thinking long term. We definitely not thinking long term. In the case of Botswana, like that, they did not think, and so many other countries. It's not necessarily only Botswana which did not diversify its economy, rather than just depending on the extraction of diamond. So many other countries, like literally the majority of African countries, depend on the oil that is under the soil. But what happens if the whole world moves more towards electric vehicles? Then the oil, the value and the price of oil will go down. Then what happens to your economy if your whole economy was based and dependent on the extraction of oil? We're not thinking about of these things. We must pivot while we still can. Otherwise, there's never gonna be a great Africa. If you and I, if the majority of us are not interested in having the technical conversation and on how to make this happen and how to make this dream come true, Africa should have think tanks, should have bodies within our continent, which works with governments across the continent, in order to help ourselves, in order to transform our economies, in order to make them sustainable. Even if we integrate them, but we need to integrate them with a clear goal and a clear direction of where we're coming from and where we're going. If we don't do that, Africa's prosperity is daydreaming, unfortunately. Until next time, please subscribe.